Tommy V in Michigan. He was on fire this morning.
Okay, thank you, Tommy V in Michigan. Yes, sir. If you share my prayers.
Tommy V's on. Yeah, we'll jump over there.
Tommy V doing great stuff over there.
Court does call the case of the people of the state of Michigan versus Alexis Naveen.
Good afternoon, Assistant Public Defender Lauren Perry on behalf of Ms. Naveen. Thank you. State your name, please. Sally.
All right. This is your motion regarding release.
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
I would rely on the writing. We have had an off-the-record conversation. I have got some more information from my client that I would like to provide. Her plan, if she were to be released today, is actually to turn herself into the emergency room or report to the emergency room. She plans on going to St. Joe. Because what I've written and explained to the court, she believes her body is in a PTSD cycle, essentially, and which has affected her nervous system. She wants to go to the emergency room in inpatient psych situations so she can stable her nervous system immediately from if she were to be released. She wants to go to St. Joe to stabilize her nervous system because of the PTSD that she's been diagnosed with and has been suffering ramifications of while in custody. When she'd be released from the hospital, she does plan on returning to the hotel that she was staying at previously. Her belongings are there, and they are holding her belongings there. She is able to pay for that hotel with both personal funds and insurance claim funds from USAA. There was another house that was not the house that is the marital home that flooded. The family does not stay there. It is only in my client's name. That house flooded, and my client filed a USAA claim, not with the VA as I previously understood, but with her insurance company. She has not received those funds because she did have someplace else to stay, which was the marital home. She now, according to the court orders, cannot return to that home, so can contact her insurance agent and have access to those funds. And she also can pay for a hotel to comply with the court's orders from her personal funds as well, as a backup. So that is the plan if she were to be released today. And I have explained to her the importance of following court's orders. Make sure that everyone's safe in this case.
Okay. Let me stop you, and I'm going to have some other questions, but as we were in chambers talking, one of the things that the court had indicated, and I think I had indicated in a previous proceeding, was regarding a tether. The difficulty is going to be is that if she goes to the hospital,
she maybe might have to take that tether off. my thought would be, if she were to go to the hospital, report to community corrections when she's released and stabilized to get placed up on tether.
Because, and I'm not saying no just to make it difficult. I'm saying no because we had a very quick violation of the bond conditions. Because of the circumstances of this defendant, I'm considering release under a very sort of stringent criteria, keeping it on a short lease, making sure that we're looking at it. But one of those criteria was the tether. Now, I understand that while we were talking, I think you just got this information about going to St. Joe's or the Trinity. And that complicates the issue regarding the tether.
She says she can report, she can go to the place with the tether, go to the hotel. Her medication is there. We did discuss reporting to the VA to get those extra services in Chambers, and she's very willing immediately to contact the VA to get that extra support. So if the court's I see the court's point. If the court's unwilling to release her, if she were to report to the hospital, if she were to be released, go to the hotel, get her medication, get stabilized, and report to the VA or engage the service of the VA as soon as possible. With the social worker contact that I have, that I can provide her the number as soon as possible.
Ms. Barroso.
Your Honor, if the defendant's needing some sort of inpatient stabilization, I have no issue with her being released for an inpatient time period, but I think that would need to be the purpose for her release as opposed to a release for all of these other things. And I would like to have an inpatient location identified and secured prior to release. I think my concern mirrors what the court's concern is getting her there and what happens immediately afterward.
Well, and I don't, while the defendant has a plan, I don't know that she goes to Trinity. I don't know that they're going to keep her. I mean, she's indicating this is what I want to have happen, but the moment she gets there, and if the medical professionals decide no, then what?
If no, she would go to the hotel where she's staying and contact the VA for the additional services that they are willing to provide her.
But the question becomes, if she's on a tether, is all of that going to happen? Because if I say she gets released, tether prior to release, so they get her out, they're on tether, she goes to the hospital, they take the tether out. They're trying to make an assessment then as to whether or not they're going to keep her someplace inpatient or what they're going to do. The tether comes off, potentially. Then they make the decision, she's not there. We have a problem.
I don't know, and to be honest with you, I don't know if the hospital would, I can't say if the hospital will take the tether up or no.
I know, and
They may keep it on, they may take it on, I don't know. I think
I think it depends, at least, I may be wrong on this, but I think it's gonna depend upon what kind of testing they would do. I mean, some of certainly their diagnostic tools, she can't have that on.
maybe the extended services that she needs after.
Right. I mean,
I think my thought is just if they were to take the tether off or something happened to tether, this court could order her to immediately get in touch with defense counsel, get in touch with community service, or community corrections, or tether agent. If that were to happen. At this point, we don't know. The other option, I think, is to order her to just get the tether, go to the hotel, get her medication, be
Well,
in touch with the
can I ask why wouldn't you obtain services from the VA hospital as opposed to Trinity?
Would you like me to answer your?
Sure, certainly.
So I would like to go to Trinity I'm a trauma therapist. So PTSD is actually a central nervous system issue and a brain issue connect. So every door that's slammed, every key that I hear is like a pulse to my body. It's like a pound, right? Because my nervous system, when I hear it, my nervous system will jerk. I've tried to use all of the skills that I know as a therapist to stabilize myself. I can't stabilize myself. I don't have medication. And so I was going to go to the emergency room, asking for my medication there. I don't anticipate that they're going to need to take my tether off. I would like an IV. I would like some medication. It would just be faster if I went to the emergency room. I did not anticipate at all that I would need treatment where a tether would need to be released. Then I would follow up with a PTSD clinic at the VA. But what I'm seeking is that initial care that will make it easier for me and faster, that I am fully capable. It just takes me a little longer. I'm fully capable of being able to stabilize myself, which is why I've done so. It doesn't look like I've done well, but I've actually done very well here because I do have those skills. And if I have the medication and have the skills, I'm able to do that at the hotel. I will not go anywhere near anyone. I will take care of myself. That's my priority. I'm fully able to do it with other. I can do it at the hospital. I will make it done.
She's residing where?
If she were to be released, she would be at the Holiday Inn Express on Research. I could provide the court with the exact address if you'd like.
That's what.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
That's no, we can get that information. So I'm just posing hypotheticals to try to come up with something, but if she's released on a tether, goes to Trinity, and let's say they're going to keep her for whatever the reason, how are we going to know?
Well, if the court orders GPS tracking, we know she would be there.
They take it off, then no, we wouldn't know.
Right, if she was there, and that was the last place we may be able to assume that that's what happened. And my office can of course follow up with, we have a release of information for my client, so we can of course follow up with the hospital to follow her treatment plan. If one is recommended by the doctors. My client saying that she wouldn't, if she were in the hospital, they wanted to put it on, she would tell them that if not. I suppose she could leave the hospital against doctor's orders if they wanted to.
Okay, so, and here's part of the problem. Part of the problem is I might be able to sort of launch out and say, I'm going to go out on a limb and trust this individual to do that. The problem is I already have a bond violation. And so it becomes a bit difficult to say on the defendant's word that she'll do this when that's what happened before and it didn't work.
I think as I've seen it previously, I understand there's this bond violation. At this point, I'm worried about my client's well-being, and that's why I filed the motion. And I appreciate the court working with us to try to fashion something. But at this point, I think I've met with her multiple times. I'm worried about her. I want her to get out, be stable, and all we can do is say she's learned from this experience, and that she won't do it again. With the extra support of my office. I mean, when she was arraigned and released, we had not even connected because, as the court knows, it was so quick. The bond violation. We now have a relationship. She has a relationship with our office. I've reached out on her behalf to the VA, and they know about her situation. I think at this point there's even more.
Yeah, but and I hear you, but even in that short little window, I don't have all of the services of the VA in place either, because those have to take place at a certain point, which we were doing, and she's, I understand, agreed to place a certain structure around what's happening. So. Ms. Barossa.
At this point, I am also concerned about the victim's well-being. So it's not just the defendant's well-being that's in question here, but we didn't receive an answer as to why she wasn't going to go to the VA as opposed to St. Joe's. I don't know why she would not go there. She said she has meds at the hotel. So if this is really just about efficiency, she can go to the hotel where they're holding her belongings. But I think based off all of this, we've had a lot of shifting. I will. She's set to appear on Monday. Why don't we keep her until Monday and see if we can get a bed at an inpatient location, if that's what she needs, or at least get something more structured in place until Monday, or by Monday, because at this point, it doesn't sound like there's plans in place to provide the necessary security to ensure that there's not going to be another bond violation and that the defendant is going to have the supports that she needs to be able to succeed when she's out of custody.
I disagree. I think we presented the court with two plans as for next steps. She gets the tether, she reports to the hospital, gets the services that she needs. The hope, right, is that she keeps the tether on. The other option is she goes to the hotel, stays in touch with our office, stays in touch with or gets in touch with the VA as quickly as possible.
Well, but, okay, so here's the problem. The difficulty that I'm having with all of this is we were in the back for hour or whatever, and we're fashioning something to effectuate a release, but do it in a manner that certainly the court is comfortable with in terms of doing it. And I think we have something in place because certain things are going to happen in sequence. We'll know everything. And then I come out, and I'm not necessarily blaming anybody, but then the plans have changed. And I'm still curious as to why all their services set up through VA for this individual. So I'm curious as to why there is this desire to go to Trinity prior to the VA. I mean, I'm not understanding that.
I think this information and this plan was what she provided me in lockup. She's willing to go with the original plan of what we were discussing in chambers. I think where it comes to Trinity, I can't want to speak to why Trinity versus the VA. I don't know. So if the court would like an answer to that.
I mean, I'll hear from her, but go on.
Thank you, Your Honor. I was actually trying to go a step further to take care of myself, as opposed to just going, I'm happy to go to the hotel, I can do that. I did not know that was, he had not met yet. That was what we had discussed, and I thought, okay, well, I'll go to the hospital first. And the reason I say St. Joe's is because they're a little more kind and compassionate than the VA, and because I know what I was seeking, the service I was seeking. I was just seeking hydration. I was seeking medication. I can hydrate, I can medicate, I can Pedialyte, I can care for myself just as well at the hotel. It might take me 3 days as opposed to 24 hours, but that is not an issue whatsoever. And I apologize that I apologize if it seems like I'm trying to change the plan or I'm trying to get St. Joe and not the VA. That wasn't the intention. They're just nicer and they're a little more kinder at St. Joe as opposed to the VA. I am happy. I am 100%. I will go to the hotel. I will stabilize myself and I will reach out to the VA as soon as possible. I'm not trying by any means, or I'm not trying to manipulate. And the truth is, my safety is important. I agree with the prosecutor. So my family safety is actually, and that is more important. And I will not ever, to the best of my ability, ever, my family is important. I will not do that. And I know that's coming. I will.
Ms. Perny, your understanding of the initial contact with VA, right? That initial contact that you would make would be via phone.
I don't think I understand your question completely. To clarify, I've spoken with the social worker at the VA. She said that Ms. Naveen can call as soon as she's released directly to her number, the contact that I've had.
And that's the process, and I may have said it inartfully, but that's the process that begins to set up what we're hoping is a more structured type of.
Correct. Correct. They will do a analysis of her needs and connect her with any more supports that they deem are necessary.
Anything else?
Nothing else for me.
So, ma'am, I guess I'll start here. The first thing you need to understand is there's to be no contact with them. You understand that? All right, that just cannot happen. And if it does, I'm just gonna, just as fair warning to you, if it does, then what's gonna happen, you're gonna be back in Washington County Jail, and I'm not, council can file whatever motions they want to file. I'm not gonna hear it again. Am I understood? And when I say that, no contact, I mean no contact to third parties. You understand that? No phone contact, no social media, no nothing along those lines in terms of contacting the victim in this case. Understood? All right. Now, the other part of it is, and I think I'm going to do it this way because I don't want the plan to, whatever plan it is, to fluctuate. I mean, I think everybody here is trying to do what we can, and ultimately it falls to my shoulders to try to make sure that we can have the opportunity to get things in place. Part of the problem is that certain services that might be available to her through the VA aren't going to happen while she's here in custody. So I want to see the defendant get those, at least begin that process of getting those services. At the same time, I am not, by any stretch of the imagination, which is the reason that you're incarcerated now, I'm not going to tolerate contact. So here's what I think I'm going to do, because we're set for Monday for a pretrial and a sentencing on the bond violation on Monday. I'm going to release the defendant on a PR after but she has to be placed with a GPS tether prior to release. The initial phase of that GPS tether will be home confinement to the Holiday Inn Express. She can then begin the process of contacting the social worker to begin to do that. I will permit, even though it's home confinement, that the defendant may travel to appointments with the VA. So if they can start something up, like if she calls once she's out, they can start something up. She can go, right? But then she immediately needs to come back to the tethered location. Okay, so, and Ms. Levine, so that you also understand, I understand the issue regarding compassion, your perception of that. I don't know that for sure, but okay, I get that. But that part of it's not happening. Understood? So if when you get that tether, you got to head to that address. If you don't, I'm going to revoke the tether. You're going to be right back in. If you decide to try to maneuver or change something within this, you're going to be right back. So one of the things I'm going to suggest to you is, if you're thinking about making a move and doing something, that you get in touch with Ms. Parney, that you get in touch with your attorneys before you make that decision. Am I understood? So when you get that tether, it's home confinement. That's where you go. You make the call to the social worker at the VA, start that process along the lines. If they can get that moving, you're permitted to go to those appointments, but they've got to be documented that you have those appointments. I will, Ms. Perry, then, I will then reevaluate this on Monday. But at least this begins the process, and maybe we'll have some additional information about the structure. And I do that on Monday when she appears for a pretrial. Okay. Anything further?
Nothing further.
All right. And Ms. Perry, if you could get from your client the full address of where she'll be staying, including a suite or room number.
Sure,
Okay, I just don't want to put it on the record.
sure.
Okay.
And then she'll provide that to the tether agent or this, or both?
Provide it to the tether agent. Actually, yes, provide it to the tether agent. Thank you.
Thank you.